how would you define exploitation?
Ha! Exploitation. Um, well, if you're in a system that's unfair, if it's impartial, well, if it's fair, impartial, tolerant, and just, it's not going to be exploitative. If it starts to not be any of those, then it's going to start getting exploitative. So
Sounds pretty good. Yeah.
I'm all in favor of fairness, impartiality, tolerance, and justness.
Yeah. So I noticed in the book there's I'm kind of sensitive to different terms and words that people use when people
Mhm.
use words about equality,
Hmm.
and then they use a word like egalitarianism
Hmm.
and things like that, trying to figure out what they mean by that. And
Yeah,
then um, it's interesting to try to tease out what people mean by fairness,
right.
right?
Well,
So
mhm.
uh, exploitation. And if you're familiar with Richard Wolff, the economist, it's really kind of the expert on cooperatives,
Mhm.
or the most popular person about cooperatives right now. Um, their definition of exploitation kind of just, you can kind of simplify it and say, if you don't get a vote on the surplus, which is what people normally would call the profit,
Mhm.
but to simplify it or to explain it to everybody, if you make widgets and you work on the widget, and the cost to make the widget is $6, and then the widget gets sold for $10, that $4 is the surplus. If you do not get a vote on what to do with that surplus, that $4, then that's exploitation. That's the definition of exploitation.
Yeah,
There's different definitions of exploitation, so not to get into something crazy, but that would be where I would say the rubber meets the road.
right.
Um, and so when we're talking about fairness and trying to tease out what is fairness and what for labor and so on and so forth, that definition I found is kind of where you can kind of draw a line in the sand and say, okay, well, you can just do whatever you want if you don't. You can have all kinds of things that allow for people to feel good for a while
Hmm.
if you deny that definition.